it's Jess and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a very happy and productive week, and today's question of the week comes from Caleb. Now Caleb asks the following. Hi Jess, what's the best way to memorise information? I always study really hard for upcoming tests, but then I keep forgetting things. Thank you so much. Caleb, good question. Now I know a lot of you are very keen to find out all of my memory tips and tricks, so I'm going to share with you some of my favourites. Now one thing to remember is when trying to memorise information, it really depends on the individual and everyone learns best differently. It also depends on the kind of information you're trying to learn as to which methods will work best. But one thing I will say is this. The more memorable you can make the information, the more likely it is to be committed to your long-term memory and stay there so that you can recall it for an upcoming test or exam. Now, one thing that I find really beneficial when talking about memorising information is to cover the 4 kinds of learning styles. Now, the 4 learning styles include your read and write learners, your visual learners, your auditory learners, and your kinesthetic or hands-on learners. So each learning style includes a range of different methods that you can try and apply when studying information, and they do work best for certain types of information and certain individuals as well. Of course, they are all involving active learning as opposed to passive learning where you just read the same information over and over again and nothing really seems to sink in. So this is really important when making the information very memorable to you. So let's go through each of the learning styles and have a think about which kind of methods might work best for you when trying to study the information next so that you can ace your tests and exams. So the first learning style involves visual learners. Now these are learners that learn best through sight. So when you see the information, you're more likely to remember it. Now a couple of different methods that rely on visual techniques and also involve active learning could include my number one favourite, which is to create mind maps, drawing illustrations or charts and diagrams for the information to make it more memorable and easier to understand, especially if you're trying to break down complex information. Or perhaps you might even like to access a little clip on YouTube that explains the information as well. Then there's the read and write learning style. Now you might like to draw on this style of learning when you're trying to memorise information that's quite densely packed. So for example, you might be trying to learn an essay or a long list of definitions and terms. Now a couple of different methods to draw on this learning style could include turning all of your diagrams and charts into sentences, writing down some different examples in your notes, and also accessing multiple sources of information such as your textbooks, your notes, and different articles on the internet as well. Next up are the auditory learning style techniques. Now these methods all draw on one particular sense, which is your hearing. Now a couple of different ways you can draw on auditory learning styles could be to re-listen to your lectures or even engage in class discussions and debates. Or you might even like to try and teach someone else the information because talking through the information is going to break it down, simplify it, and also confirm what sort of information you know and any areas or gaps that you still need to attend to. And then the last method of learning involves kinesthetic or hands-on techniques. Now, you might like to add a physical movement when studying, but I don't just mean jumping up and down or walking back and forward. Perhaps you might actually like to get involved in a game of charades and actually act out a scene of a play, act out a particular term or definition or concept to a friend, and take turns trying to guess. This definitely makes the activities very dynamic, very engaging, and also very, very memorable. Another thing that you might like to do would be to create a 3D model or diorama, or you might actually like to attend a field trip or engage in an experiment, anything that allows you to see the information firsthand happening right in front of you. This is a really good way to put things into perspective and learn it really quickly. So thank you so much, Caleb, for sending in your question. I hope I've answered it well today. And for all of you out there that are watching, I hope that today's tips have helped you to make your information a lot more meaningful and a lot more memorable. Also, if you guys have any study questions, then leave them in the comment box below for me, and yours just might be answered in next week's question of the week. Also, if you want to check out my previous video, then you can click the card up there, and I'll also leave a link to that in the description box, along with the links to purchase my study skills book, The High School Survival Guide. Alright guys, have a very happy and productive weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye!